Gemini, this week is about discovering that slowness can be a form of power. Your mind can move faster than circumstances, faster than schedules, faster than other people, and sometimes faster than your own ability to finish what you started. The Knight of Pentacles arrives with a very different rhythm. He does not rush to prove that he is capable. He builds proof through repetition. The cosmic weather for this reading is deliberately simple. No verified astrological events or house-map transits were supplied for this week, so I will not invent a transit story around you. That leaves us with a clean tarot message. The Knight of Pentacles becomes your guide for August 26th through September 1st, asking you to value what can be repeated, maintained, and trusted. Your card is the Knight of Pentacles. This knight is not the most dramatic figure in the deck. He is not chasing a sudden breakthrough or performing urgency. He is studying the field, protecting the work, and returning to the task. For Gemini, that can initially feel almost too ordinary. But ordinary effort becomes extraordinary when it is consistent enough to compound. Your central thesis is this: consistency is how scattered potential becomes trust. In love, the Knight of Pentacles asks you to look past intensity and pay attention to reliability. If you are in a relationship, the most meaningful gesture may not be a grand declaration. It may be the small thing that happens again and again, keeping a promise, checking in, making time, following through after a difficult conversation. Ask whether the relationship is built on patterns you can depend on, not only feelings that are powerful in the moment. If you are single, this card invites you to rethink what attraction means when it is not accompanied by chaos. Someone steady can initially seem less exciting if you are used to unpredictability creating chemistry. You do not have to force interest where it does not exist, but notice whether your nervous system has learned to confuse uncertainty with spark. The Knight of Pentacles favors people whose actions make their intentions easier to understand. In work, this is one of the strongest cards for craftsmanship. The opportunity is not necessarily a new idea. It may be a better system for the idea you already have. Gemini often generates options quickly. This week asks you to choose one useful lane and improve the process around it. Finish the draft. Update the workflow. Document the steps. Repeat what works. If a task is boring but important, give it dignity by doing it properly instead of resenting that it is not more stimulating. There is also a message about reputation. People trust consistency because it reduces uncertainty. If you say you will deliver something, deliver it. If you need more time, communicate before the deadline becomes a crisis. If you are trying to build credibility, understand that one excellent performance helps, but a pattern of competent performance changes how people see you. With money, the Knight of Pentacles favors boring wisdom. This is not the card of chasing a dramatic financial win. It is the card of knowing where your money goes, making steady contributions, paying attention to recurring costs, and building habits that can survive changes in mood. Choose one financial behavior that can become automatic. The goal is not to feel inspired by it every time. The goal is to make the right action easier to repeat. For health and energy, consistency matters more than punishment. Gemini can sometimes respond to feeling behind by creating an ambitious plan that is difficult to sustain. The Knight asks for the opposite. What is the smallest useful routine you could actually repeat? A reliable bedtime window, a walk, regular meals, a short mobility practice, fewer late-night screens, or protected recovery time can be more valuable than an intense reset that disappears after a few days. Let your body trust you by becoming predictable in the ways that support it. For your week day by day, treat each day as one brick in a structure rather than a forecast. On Wednesday, choose the one task that would make this week feel materially better if it were completed. Define what done actually means. Vague goals create unnecessary wandering. On Thursday, remove one point of friction from that task. Put the document where you can find it. Prepare the materials. Block the time. Turn off one distraction. Make the first useful action easier to begin. On Friday, repeat the work even if the mood is different. This is important. The Knight of Pentacles teaches that your commitment becomes real when it is not dependent on having the same emotional weather every day. On Saturday, slow your consumption. Before adding another idea, video, article, plan, or conversation to your mind, spend time integrating something you already know. Gemini does not always need more information. Sometimes you need more contact with the information that has already proved useful. On Sunday, review one promise you made to yourself. It can be small. Ask whether your schedule contains actual evidence of that promise. If not, place it somewhere concrete instead of leaving it as an intention. On Monday, practice completion before expansion. Close one loop before opening another. Send what is ready. File what is finished. Answer what has been waiting. Give your mind the relief of fewer open tabs in both the literal and metaphorical sense. On Tuesday, assess the pattern rather than judging the entire week by one moment. What did you repeat? What became easier? What still requires too much friction? Adjust the system instead of attacking your character. Your 3 journal prompts are these. First prompt: where in my life am I relying on talent or good intentions when a repeatable system would serve me better? Second prompt: what kind of consistency would make me trust myself more 3 months from now? Third prompt: which unfinished commitment is taking more mental energy than the actual work required to complete it? For your weekly guidance, I want you to do the 7 bricks exercise. Choose one meaningful task or habit and define a brick that takes between 15 and 45 minutes. For 7 days, complete exactly 1 brick. Do not double up because you feel inspired, and do not redesign the entire project midway through. Each day, mark 1 square on paper after the brick is done. The exercise is not about maximizing output. It is about teaching your mind that progress can be visible without being dramatic. At the end of the week, you will have 7 pieces of evidence that you can continue something without needing novelty to carry you. This card also asks you to examine your relationship with boredom. Boredom is not always a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes it appears when the exciting phase of possibility ends and the real phase of building begins. A language is learned through repetition. A business is strengthened through repeated processes. A relationship deepens through repeated care. A body changes through repeated habits. The Knight of Pentacles understands that the ordinary middle is where most durable things are made. At the same time, consistency does not mean rigidity. If a process is clearly failing, adjust it. If your schedule no longer reflects reality, revise it. If a goal has become irrelevant, release it. The Knight is loyal to the mission, not blindly loyal to one method. Your intelligence is still needed. The difference is that this week your intelligence serves execution instead of constantly replacing execution with another idea. Gemini, there is freedom in becoming someone who can be counted on by your future self. You do not have to solve everything this week. You only have to stop abandoning useful things because they stopped feeling new. The life you want may be less dependent on one brilliant leap than on a series of ordinary actions performed with care. One final reminder: do not confuse a slower pace with a smaller life. The Knight of Pentacles is building capacity that future opportunities can actually rely on. Every repeated action this week is a vote for a version of you who can carry more without dropping what already matters. Let steadiness become a form of self-respect, not a punishment for being curious. Your weekly affirmation is, I turn my ideas into evidence through steady, deliberate action, and I trust what I can sustain. Carry that with you through September 1st. Subscribe so your next weekly reading is waiting for you. Trust the timing. The stars have spoken.